Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to the second edition of a two-part series on how to track conversions. My name's Ruth and I'm joined here by my colleague James.
Hi guys.
We both work as account strategists in the AdWords support team here in Dublin. So last week we learned about tracking conversions in your AdWords account. Today we're going to discuss how to track conversions in your analytics account using goals and e-commerce tracking. So stay tuned. So a couple of quick things to note. So there's a Q&A feature that you can use to ask questions if you're joining us live on the Google Plus page. If you're watching from the AdWords community, please post your questions as comment and we'll try our best to get to those too. So let's get started. So James, maybe you can tell us how goals and Google Analytics can help track our business objectives.
Definitely. So when you think about conversions, you need to think about two different types of conversions, macro and micro conversions. So macro conversions will be the overarching goal of your business or your business objective, whereas micro conversions will be the activities that lead to the completion of macro conversions. So let's take an example. Say, for instance, I own an adventure sports equipment company, for instance. What a macro conversion would be for me would be a sale, whereas a micro conversion might be someone signing up for my promotional newsletter. By signing up for my promotional newsletter, basically what they're saying to me is that they're interested in my product and they're also open to being marketed to. So the end goal or the aim for me would be to eventually have them complete a purchase on my site, thus completing a macro conversion and becoming a customer. So both micro and macro conversions can be tracked within Google Analytics through the setting up of goals. Goals can be used to track multiple things. So, for instance, the watching of a video, the filling in of a form, the downloading of an app, or even to measure, how long someone stays on my site. So, did they stay on my site for more than 3 minutes? Basically, with respect to goals and tracking conversions through Google Analytics, there is one advantage, relative to AdWords conversion tracking, in that you're going to be able to track conversions coming from multiple sources, and not just from AdWords. So this is a little bit of an advantage if you're going to use goals and analytics. So now I'm just going to quickly pass you back to Ruth, who is going to discuss the different types of goals that are available to you.
Thanks a million, James. So now that we know how important goals are, let's learn a little bit more about them. So the first thing to note is that goals can be configured at a view level in your analytics account. And there are 4 kinds of goals really here. Each goal is slightly different to set up, but essentially they all do the same thing, which is track conversions on your website or app. So today we're just going to go through the kinds of conversions you can set up on your website. So first, let's talk about the kind of goals that track a user action. So the first one would be a destination goal, which is a page on your website that users visit after completing a significant action. So for an account sign up, this could be the thank you for signing up for an account with us. If it's a newsletter download, it's thank you for downloading the newsletter, or even if it's a purchase, it would be kind of the payment receipt page, okay? A destination goal will trigger a conversion when a user visits that particular page that you've specified and that you've said is important. So the second kind of goal that we can use to track user conversions, I suppose, is an event goal. Okay, so an event goal is triggered when someone does something specific, like, downloads an ebook or subscribes to your newsletter. So one thing to note, though, is you do need to have event tracking configured in order to utilize this goal. And the last 2 types of goals that we're going to talk about kind of measure user engagement. So engagement can be measured on the kind of time that someone spends on your website or the amount of content that they receive. So a time on site goal is triggered when user spends above a certain amount of time that you've specified. And a pages per visit goal is also measured when user visits more pages than the number that you've specified. So now James is going to tell us how to actually set up these goals in Google Analytics.
So yeah, I'm just going to do a dry run on a destination goal. So as Ruth has explained, a destination goal could be used to track, a URL at which a person would arrive to after they've completed a significant action on your site. So say, for instance, if they've completed a purchase, they'll arrive on your receipt page, and as a result, you would want to actually track the receipt page. So I'm just going to quickly do a screen share in order to demonstrate the setting up of a destination goal. So you're going to have to be in your Google Analytics account, and then you want to navigate to the relevant property and view in question. Once you're in the view column, you're going to need to go to the goals section. So I'm going to click into the goals section, and then you're going to see a big red plus new goal tab, which is hard to miss. So you just need to click on that, and what we want to select is custom. So I'm going to quickly select custom, then click on the next step option. So here we need to input a name so that you're going to be able to refer to this goal when you're looking at your reports. So I'm going to call it James, because that's my name. And then I'm going to select, as the type, I'm going to select destination. I'm going to go on to the next step. So that's all simple. So this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. We need to select the page that we want to track. So say, for instance, I'm tracking www.example.com /thankyou.html. So it's a thank you page after someone actually completes a purchase. I don't need to input the whole domain here. I only need to input what comes after the /. So in this case, I'm going to put in thankyou.html, if I can type that correctly. And then next, what I need to do is select the matching type. So there's 3 different types. There's equals to, begins with, and regular expression. In this instance, I'm going to select equals to. What equals to means is that if you're sure that the URL isn't going to change, that it's going to remain the same irrespective of what customer actually completes the purchase, it's fine, completely fine to select equals to. Another option is begins with. This is where a URL might change. So like it might be dynamic, or for different customers, the end of it might change. So you can use begins with in order to capture all of your goal completions. And last but not least is regular expressions. Now, regular expressions are a little bit more complicated, and they require knowledge of regular expressions. They'll allow you to capture, to record data on multiple URLs in one goal. But what I would do is urge you to refer to the Google Analytics Help Center if you want to garner a little bit more information about that. So as I said, I'm leaving it equals to for myself. Moving down along a little bit, we want to go to value. So here you have an option to input a monetary value for your goal. If you're having a little bit of difficulty in terms of figuring out how much a goal completion is worth to your business, what I would recommend is just thinking about what you would value a goal as. So like, say for instance, you're tracking leads, and your sales team converts leads into sales 10% of the time, and your average transaction is $500. You might input a value of $50 here, so 10% of 500. And this will just give you a lot more transparency in terms of what these goal completions are worth to you and what value you're getting from the different sources. So I hope that's a little clearer now. And moving down along, we have the funnel option. And this is the second last thing I wanted to mention. Basically, here you're going to be able to track the actual goal completion process. So let's take an example. The simple example is a checkout process. The first step would generally be adding an item to your basket. The second step might be entering shipping information, and the third step could be actually entering the payment information. So you could have 3 separate steps set up here for each one, with a name and a URL that are equivalent to the separate steps. And this will give you a lot more clarity in terms of your goal completion process. So say, for instance, after you've set this kind of funnel up, you would be able to refer to the goals flow reports and get information in terms of where people are coming onto where people are entering and actually exiting your goal completion process. Say for instance, on the payment section where you have to input payment information, if a lot of people seem to be dropping off there, you can maybe rectify this by making that page actually a little bit more simpler in order to optimize the number of conversions that you're going to receive. So last but not least is just the verification tool. So this is just if you click on I just need to put in input and value first of all. If you were to click on verify this goal, sorry, actually I'm not going to be able to do it now because I'm not putting in a process there. Maybe I'll turn off the funnel actually. Yeah. So once I turn off the funnel, I should be able to verify. So it's not going to give me any data. However, for you, if you were to wanting to check your goal settings, you can click on verify as I did there. And it will allow you to find out, what your expected conversion rate would be based on your data from the last 7 days. If this was abnormally high or low, it would kind of, trigger something in your mind. There's something wrong here. You need to maybe fix this goal. It's not set up correctly. So that's all very useful. You just click on create goal and you're pretty much done. I'm not going to actually create this goal as of now. But I'm just going to pass you back over to Ruth, who is now going to discuss how you would import these goals into your Google AdWords account from Google Analytics.
Yeah, so thanks a million, James. And that's so useful information to have a step-by-step process. And we really hope that you guys at home manage to set up a test goal in your Analytics account. So now, once we have set up goal tracking in Analytics, we can simply now import these goals into AdWords. This allows us to see within the AdWords interface what kind of clicks, what kinds of costs are generating these kinds of conversions. So it's incredibly useful for us. So in order to do that, there are 4 steps involved. So the first step is to make sure that our AdWords and analytics accounts are linked. Second thing is to make sure that we've opted into data sharing. The third thing is to make sure that we've enabled auto tagging in order to share that information between AdWords and analytics. And finally, on a per type basis, your analytics goal or transaction must have received active traffic from an AdWords ad at some point in order to transfer it over. So let's see quickly how it works. So first we need to make sure, as the first step mentioned, that your AdWords and analytics accounts are linked and sharing cost data. So here are the steps. So we're already in our analytics account here. We navigate to the admin tab where we are at the top of the page here. We've made sure that we have selected the kind of account and the kind of property where we want to link this. Okay, so the next thing we need to click here is AdWords linking. Okay, and once we're here, what we need to do is select the AdWords account that we want to link. So we have it already selected here and click on continue. So now we're going to give this link configuration a group title, okay? So enter a group title to identify the group of, say, if there's a group of linked AdWords accounts, okay? Now most users will only need to link one group. We recommend only creating multiple link groups if you have multiple AdWords accounts and want data to flow in different ways between these accounts and your analytics property. So for example, you should create multiple link groups if you need to link different AdWords accounts to different views of the same property, for example, or enable auto tagging for maybe only some of your AdWords accounts. Okay, so the next thing, let's just name this quickly. So I'm just going to name this as Ruth, because again, that's my name. So now we need to select the view that we'd like to link, and I'm going to select here all website data. Okay, now this, if you've already enabled auto tagging in your AdWords account, we can skip to the next step. Okay, and the account linking process will enable auto tagging for all of your linked AdWords accounts. Okay, so click advanced settings only if you need to manually tag some of your AdWords links. And finally, we click on the link account button. So it won't allow me to do this at the moment, but we'll just go to the next step. So the next step is to make sure that our data sharing settings are enabled, okay? And in order to do that, it's an account level setting. So we navigate to the account settings section here. Okay, under the account column. Then we scroll down. We have to make sure here under data settings that with other Google products only is ticked. Okay, so once we've edited any settings, we scroll to the bottom and we click apply to save. Okay, so finally, let's make sure that we're using auto tagging in our AdWords account. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is navigate to the AdWords account and scroll to the top, and under the billing setting we need to click on our settings section. Okay, let's go in here. Maybe let's do that. Okay, so it's not letting us here, but it should be in the top right hand corner. What we need to do is select the little gear icon, okay, and then it'll open up to account settings, okay, as we can see here. And then once we're here, what we need to select is preferences in the very left hand side. So it'll automatically default to that tab. And right here where it says tracking and it says auto tagging, it should be yes. But if it's not, we select the edit feature. We make the, as here, we tick the box here which says destination URL auto tagging, and then we click save changes. Okay. And finally, we'll want to make sure, okay, that we've received at least one goal completion from an AdWords click for each goal that we'd like to import, okay? So how we would do that is to go back to the Google Analytics account. We have to choose the profile in which we've created the goal. Next, we have to choose traffic sources from the left bar, and then from the subcategory, select advertising, then AdWords, and finally campaigns. Then we'll be able to see how many visitors from AdWords have completed a goal in under the blue graph. Okay, so to check an individual goal, check Explore above the blue graph, and about 2 days after you receive the first goal completion from an AdWords click, we can import these goals as conversions in your AdWords account. So there is that time lapse there. So next, what we're going to do is show you how to import goals. Okay, so going back to the AdWords account. Okay, so we should still be here. And we're going to go towards Tools, once this loads, guys, and then we're going to select Conversions. Okay, now again, since we set up this goal only today, okay, it will be a time lapse before this is available. But you'll see here that this Import from Google Analytics button should be grey, should be a dark grey, and we'll be able to select it. Then we'll see a list with all the goals that we've created in Google Analytics. So we'll be able to check which ones we'd like to import, and at the bottom, click import. Okay, so that's it. So now Google Analytics will register goals, will register in our AdWords account as conversions, making it much easier for us to see conversion data and how to best optimize our account according to that data. Okay, so now I'm going to pass it back over to James, who's going to talk about e-commerce tracking.
Fantastic, Ruth. That's brilliant. So now that we know a lot about goals, it's time to look at tracking e-commerce transactions, and this is also very important. So if you have a website where you actually have an e-commerce platform available, so you're selling products, you're going to know that all conversions are not equal in value. So some conversions will be more valuable than others. As a result, it doesn't necessarily suffice to just count up the total number of conversions and then just assume that this is the value that's been added to your business from these conversions. You need to be able to track the value of each specific conversion. So this is where e-commerce tracking comes in. So e-commerce tracking it will allow you to find out, what products your customers are actually purchasing, what the value of each of the quantity of these products they're purchasing, and also the total revenue that this is generating for your business. E-commerce tracking will also allow you to find out, how many times someone has interacted with your site before actually going on to complete a purchase. So very quickly, I'm just going to run you through the setup for e-commerce tracking. And there are a few steps involved, okay? So I'm just going to go back into the analytics account. That's what you need to do also. Once again, you need to make sure that you're in the relevant property and view. When you're in the view column, this time you want to navigate to e-commerce settings, okay? So what's important here, guys, is ensuring that e-commerce is set to on. So as we can see here, it's on. I'm just going to click to off and click to on again. So that's what you need to make sure is actually done here. You'll then click on next step. Enhanced e-commerce settings is optional, so I'm just going to skip that for the time being and click on submit. So I see success, and that's always a good thing. So that's successfully enabled now. The next step would actually be implementing the code on your site. So what you will need to do is make sure that the analytics tracking code is implemented on your site. But then after that, you're going to need to ensure that the relevant snippet of e-commerce tracking code is also implemented on your site. Now, this can be a little bit more complicated, so you're probably going to need to get your web developer involved. And I would also strongly recommend referring to the Google Analytics Help Center in order to get a little bit more information with respect to implementation here. So great, now we know a lot more about goals, we know a lot more about e-commerce tracking. What's the difference between the two? So with respect to goals, you're only ever going to track a conversion once in one specific session. Whereas for e-commerce tracking, it's possible to track multiple transactions in one session. So let's take an example. If I refer to, let's say, an ebook download as my conversion, and it's worth $5 to me. If I'm using goals, this is only going to be tracked once in one visit, and it's going to give a value of $5 for me. Whereas if I'm using e-commerce tracking, it will give two separate transactions worth $5 each, leading to a total value of $10. So that's just very important to note. On top of this, and finally, with respect to the difference between goals and e-commerce tracking, you don't want to assign a value to goals that are e-commerce goals. So you only want to assign a value to goals that are non-e-commerce goals due to the fact that this is cumulative. So basically what I mean is if you were to assign a value to an e-commerce goal, it's going to lead to a doubling over of revenue, which is obviously something you want to avoid because that's going to lead to inaccuracy in your account, which is something we never want, okay? So that's pretty much it from me, guys. I hope that's given you a little bit more clarity with respect to e-commerce tracking, and I'm now going to pass you back to Ruth, who's going to wrap this up.
Yeah, so thanks so much for going through that, guys. We really hope that you found the total session really helpful, and it gives you a little bit more insight on how you can track conversions on analytics. So we really enjoyed the session here. We really hope you guys did too, and we're going to say bye now until next time. See you soon.